about meetings, Brown Act, agenda, really exciting stuff, okay? So I'm going to go through it quickly unless you have a lot of questions, because if you have more questions, I want to make sure you guys have time. And I know you want to start looking at your Constitution as well, but remember that your Constitution does talk about how your meetings are going to be held, right? They're going to be open meetings, they're going to follow the Brown Act. There's a lot of things that go along with that we often aren't taught very well. And so I wanted to put a lot of information on these slides so that you have them for your reference as you go forward. Because it's really, really important that you hold your meetings correctly, you're agendizing, they're open, all of that. And what's good is your Constitution does talk about it, but not in a lot of detail.
Yeah, we don't really have.
It doesn't have detail, but it does talk about they have to follow the Brown Act. So then you have to get out your own book.
Right. Yeah, it does reference it.
It does reference it. So then they just expect you to know what that means. So, there's information here. You probably want to put more information in your Constitution.
Sure.
Or you do a separate appendix that goes with you have to decide how much you want to clutter the Constitution itself. So you can have attachments to a Constitution too, right? You have to decide what, if you get lost in your Constitution, but anyway.
I have a quick question about quorum from the previous one. So I read something about how no more than 3 members can, well, I guess it doesn't have to do with quorum. It's proxy. No more than 3 members can vote with a proxy vote. What does that mean?
So when people aren't there, they can give,
right.
Their proxy.
Right.
But no more than 3 members can vote with a proxy. Is that what that was saying?
Because you should say there's not enough, then there's really not enough
There's not
people
enough-
there even
There's
with
not
a
enough
proxy.
people and
It's
there's
just
always
not, yeah.
3 people to
So
represent
you,
3
so you
others.
really then think about how a decision could really be driven.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it can all come from just one person
Yes,
saying,
absolutely.
oh, I think that so-and-so would
It's a way to
think
keep
this
it
way."
fair.
Yeah.
Because as you know,
Right.
any rule that's in
I vote
place,
yes on behalf of everybody.
and sometimes somebody's tried to manipulate something, right? And that's where a lot of these rules came
Yeah.
into
Right.
place through time.
Smart. It's good.
No, so it's interesting when you look at any of this stuff. It's amazing all the layers with it. And I would have loved to see it at the very, very beginning because it was probably very simple, right? But then
Right.
problems happened, so we kept adding to all these rules.
Mhm.
And
Brown
is
Act's
it
pretty clear.
two proxies per member?
I don't know. We'd have to look that up. That
Okay.
part I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't think
We
I
usually
put
just
that
have
on.
one. I mean, with our board, we have one proxy assigned to each person. But,
Okay. I would say it should just be one because I think if you start doing more than one,
right.
votes can really be manipulated.
Sure.
So only one person is ever during a meeting allowed to hold a proxy in the entire Ascom.
If the law is, and again, we'd have to look
That,
up what
but
the law
I
really
like
says.
that. I like
But
that.
in my perfect world, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be more than
And
one.
that's something we can write into the Constitution.
That would
as well,
be
and
a
I think
smart
we should.
idea, yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's
The only
drop
time that
down.
we have it is when somebody just couldn't.
I don't like
fit in.
proxies anyway.
Right.
I really don't. I think
Right.
that if you can't have a quorum,
Sure.
you probably need to have a meeting at a different time.
Right.
But I know that isn't always possible.
Right.
So you need to think about then, how do we make sure something isn't manipulated? And so more than one, I think, can be manipulated very easily.
Sure.
Yeah, so look into that.
Written down. Got it.
Well, written down, remember, always helps you from having issues later. And I mean, not all of us, not everybody likes rules and everything written down. Would rather, but the more you leave to chance, the more issues you're going to have. You also need to be able to breathe, right? So there's a fine line there, but usually we write more down in our constitutions and our rules because things go wrong. So that gets us to a certain place. Okay, so for a quorum, did I skip this slide? Okay, so these are the things that can happen without a quorum. Not a whole lot, right? It's just really the general information stuff. But if for some reason you had a meeting plan, there wasn't a quorum, these are the things that you could still do.
It's just particularly the action items. that
Yes,
need to
yes, so
come.
no decisions really, this is just reporting out stuff really. Okay, so more information than you ever needed about the Brown Act, but it's been around a long time. It really does work well, and all of us have to follow it. Even the entity I work for, FCMAT, we're a state entity, we still have a board, we still have to follow the Brown Act. The difference is my board meetings are all around the state. The last one was in Death Valley of all places, and we have ours on a Sunday.